Good morning, YouTube. Thought I'd do a quick video before heading off to work. I know it's been a while. It's been a lot of piddly stuff and a couple of major things. Good news is it does run now. I can start it and drive it. I've got an odd problem happening with the power steering and the brakes though. I have no power steering and my brake pressure gradually increases on its own until I can't drive it. So I've only gone about 35 feet, had to turn it off, let the brakes depressurize, and then I backed it back into the garage. Also, the power steering fluid got real hot real quick, so I let it idle for about 15 minutes looking for problems with the engine and the cooling and all that, and in the meantime the brake fluid or the power steering fluid got very hot. So I definitely have something happening there that I have to figure out. It's kind of a bit of a mystery to me how that system works exactly, so still got to figure that out. Air conditioning lines I'm making progress, but they're not hooked up yet. I don't have the heater or the air conditioning installed. I'm working on the door. I took it off because it doesn't quite fit right. Looks like these hinges are maybe in the wrong spot. Not sure, but it doesn't have a proper fit, so kind of dug into that last night. I got the battery box fabricated and installed. I do have a lid for it. I need to do a bit of modification to accommodate the wires coming out the top. It is an odd spot, but I didn't have any place good, so that's where it's going. I got the temporary exhaust installed just for while I'm farting around with it. I'll take it into town and have a proper exhaust system installed by somebody who knows what they're doing. It has a big pipe bending machine I do not have. Lots of little things, zip tying everything together, fuel lines. I needed to get the old fuel filter assembly out of the circuit. I could not get fuel through it. Took it apart, everything looks fine. It used to work, but no fluid would go through it. I could prime it and get the engine to run for a bit, but then it would die, and I have to reprime it with the hand pump on top of the old filter assembly. So considering I've got the fast system in the back, I just abandoned the old. I wanted to keep it for the heater, but that's out. So transmission's filled. I used a piece of EMT, half-inch electrical tubing to bend it. I tried bending the old one to fit up to here, but trying to bent tubing, it didn't work. So I cut off the important parts, which is the bottom and the top of the stock transmission filler tube, and welded those onto the piece of EMT. The fit was very close, but not quite good enough. And of course, the part that goes down in the transmission has a specific shape to seal to the little port that it plugs into. So I was able to get the transmission filled up. The lines, I only had one leak. It was just a loose fitting. I had loose fitting on the power steering and on the transmission cooler circuit, but they were just fittings I forgot to tighten, so no big deal. I think the coolant system's fine, although it hasn't, I don't think it's, in the amount of time I've run it, and it's cold right now, it hasn't pulled fluid all the way through the block, I don't think. So I've still got some more water to dump in there. Dash is still a mess. That'll come later. I really want to get it out onto some banks and ditches and really torque the chassis as much as I can to see if I think it looks okay before I button up the floor. That's this winter's project, is to button it up and put in all the window seals and insulate it, wire it, and all that crap. So it'll be a good long winter, I hope. It started early, so oh, and preload, I got my preload set, I think. It was interesting how much of the sag was hidden by the fact that the tires try to crab out as you set it down, and so I stuck it up on the rollers here, hoping that would help the suspension find its happy, where it wants to be, without the friction of the tires on the concrete preventing it from dropping to where it was. So I'd set the preload, move it forward, let the tires crab to where they wanted to be, and it would sag a bit. So I've got about 3 inches of preload, I think, on the shocks, and I ran the longer shock, or the longer springs, They were a bear to cram in there. I had to disconnect the axles from the transfer case, or from the front differential, in order to swing the A-arm, and disconnect the upper A-arm in order to swing the lower A-arm down low enough for the eye-to-eye to hit, because I had to add these longer eyes and the perch to accommodate the axle. I didn't know that when I bought the system from Kibitech. They didn't mention that part, so I ended up with a flat perch and a short eye, and it didn't clear the drive axle, which made my eye-to-eye longer, and so the spring wouldn't fit without a lot of work. So it's about 30 minutes to get the shock removed or installed, so it's a bit more work than it should be, but whatever. I had to put a ton of preload down on the shorter springs. I think the short springs were 22 inches and these are 26, I believe. So I started out with a good amount of preload, just with the preload nut all the way up, and then added the 3 inches to get the ride height where I want it. So I might even drop it a tiny bit, we'll see. But there it is. So stay tuned. As soon as I get the steering and the brakes figured out, I'll be able to drive it, and I'll post a video of that. So I don't know if this matters, but the mass airflow inlet, or sensor, sorry, on the air intake, I just took a piece of thick-walled pipe, aluminum pipe, did a slice out of it, and then put it in the mill to flatten the top, so I had a flat place for the airflow sensor to go in. I don't know if that's normal how to do it, but it worked out real good, because all I've got is a mill, and I was trying to figure out how to make this curve on a flat piece of metal, and then realized that a round piece of metal with a flat top was easier to make. So that seemed to work. So electrical all seems to work. Yeah, I got to do the shifter. Right now I'm shifting by yanking up on this cable, but it's pretty close. So anyway, thanks, bye.